Hello everyone and welcome back to the second part of this experiment with Spennymoor Town, where we're trying to see what would happen if a non-league team had the perfect shell around their club. So the way this works is we don't give them any cash, we don't change their reputation, but if we look at their club details, they have got 150,000 club attendance every week, an enormous stadium, 150,000 seats, and they did have perfect training and youth facilities, but they have started to decline a little bit already. As a result of their huge attendances, they are starting to bring in some cash, and when we left off last time, they'd just been promoted into the Football League after a fantastic season where they also won the FA Trophy, and they managed to beat Arsenal in the fourth round of the FA Cup away from home. So it's been an incredible run of form this season. We're hoping it will continue in the Football League. Today we're going to go forward. I have no idea how far forward we'll actually go, but we're going to go until they get to in and around the Championship Premier League area. So it could just be a few short years, or it could be 10, 15, 20. I'm not really sure how far forward we're going to go, but that's the goal we're going to look to achieve. So the way I'll do it is I'll jump forward probably 3 years to begin with, see how they're getting on, and then keep jumping forward about 3-5 years each time. So at the moment, they're still managed by Mike Newell, who's been there since the beginning. If we have a quick look at his overview, he has been at Spennymoor 240 games now. He's won 1 cup, 2 leagues, 2 promotions. Pretty good stuff, and he's still going. So we're going to just go forward 3 years and see how they're getting on. If you are enjoying this experiment, do hit that like button and make sure to subscribe for more Football Manager experiments. So when we left off, they just got into the Football League, I think for the first time in their history. But you can see they beat Newport County 3-0 in their first Football League game. Then Wycombe 2-1, knocked out the Carabao Cup on penalties, a huge penalty shootout here before finally being knocked out. Beat Barnet as well, so that was 3 straight victories in League 2. Their form dropped off a little bit, managed to get past Notts County in the FA Cup, and Wycombe still going in the checker trade as well, beaten by Hull in the FA Cup 1-0 in the third round, and knocked out of the checker trade by Sunderland. But their League 2 form continued, doing reasonably well, a good winning run towards the end of the season, but they did not manage to win promotion. Oh no, they did manage to win promotion. I thought they'd missed out on the playoffs there. We need to have a look at this. League 2, if we have a look at the overview and stages and drop back a couple of seasons, they actually finished as champions. I was not expecting that. That didn't look like an 89-point season to me, but they won immediate promotion in their first season in the Football League, 8 points clear of Burton, a sensational season. They actually finished 17 points clear of Wimbledon to get automatic promotion. Absolutely unbelievable stuff there from the team. And the next year they were in League 1, again won their first game 3-1, a couple of defeats out of the Carabao Cup as well before a brilliant winning run, also going in the Checkatrade Trophy. Got through in the FA Cup first round 3-0, 4-0 against Chelmsford. Terrible run of form in December, 1 point, and I think that's 6 defeats before recovering a little bit. Got past Bradford in the FA Cup third round, but Arsenal got some revenge on them here at 2 late goals at Brewery Field. Meant that Spennymoor were knocked out, but their League 1 form continuing to do reasonably well towards the end of the year, still getting victories, made it to the playoffs, 2-2 in the first game, late goal for Matty Connor saving the draw for them, and then in the return leg it took a 120th minute penalty for them to actually get through here on penalties. An incredible bit of drama there, and then in the final they beat Reading 2-1. Randall Williams and Malik Wilkes, giving them back-to-back promotions in league football at Wembley. Incredible stuff. So they're into the Championship in this most recent season. Difficult start this time, 4-0 defeat to West Brom. Going well in the Carabao Cup for the first time, made it to the third round before being beaten by Coventry on penalties. Inconsistent form here, pretty consistent actually. Lots of green, lots of red, lots of yellow, lots of red. So they are actually being pretty consistent. Just not getting as many wins as you'd like here. I mean, this They won on the 4th of October. Their next league win came on the 17th of January. That's a really poor run of form. Going in the FA Cup, though, beat Wolves, lost to Blackburn. And yeah, just a generally poor kind of season. I didn't really get going that much. And if we have a quick look at the table, we can see that Spennymoor finished in 16th place, which is not bad. 8 points clear of relegation, about 15-20 points off the playoff places for a chance in the Premier League. So it's been a really good rise to glory here. I said we were just going to go until they make the Championship. Obviously, we may have to go a bit further now. They do have a new manager, which is interesting. He must have been sacked this season. But you can see this was their rise through the ranks in the English Northern League Division 1, then the Northern Premier League, up again from Division 1 to the Premier Division of the Northern Premier League. Got promoted to from the Vanarama National League North, and then a couple of seasons in the National League before finishing first, and then fourth, but up through the playoffs. It's been a really, really quick rise to where they are now, and I'm hoping that this will continue. I just want to have a look at their competition screen here. You can see I don't think they have been in the Football League before based on all of this, but they are now League 2 winners. I just want to check their managers. So Mike Newell left the manager role. I'm not sure what the reason was, though. It looks like he went 7 years to the day. I don't know if that was his contract ending. Mike Newell now manager of Sheffield Wednesday. If we look at his milestones, then he was at Spennymoor, left. Oh, he was offered the Sheffield Wednesday role, that's why. So he moved to Sheffield Wednesday, and he's still there now, manager of Sheffield Wednesday. But it meant that Rachubka came in as a caretaker, and since then Lee Johnson has been manager for about half a year, 6 months. So that's quite interesting. If we have a quick look at the club details, we can see that they've still got the high attendance. Bank balance sitting at a pretty nice 23 million now. Still got 23 million in the wage budget as well. And their facilities sticking at around 18, which isn't too bad. Transfer histories over the last 3 seasons. You can see this is what they did the season before this episode started. They then went out and spent 1.1 million, but 725k recouped. 1.5 million, but 2.1 million recouped. So they're making transfer profits at the minute. And then this season in the Championship, they went out and spent £30 million. The money flying out the door. James Wilkinson from Watford, their really big transfer. He's a young player as well. He didn't play that much for them, so I'm hoping that he will develop into a top quality player, because that's a big outlay. Luke Hilton, the other one from Southampton, again, 19 years old. They like the youth players. He did really well in the Championship, though. 10 assists and 6 goals, 5 man of the match performances, and he only cost them 6.25 million, so I can see them turning a big profit on him. Adam Lewis from Preston as well. Some good, solid signings, I think, setting them up quite well. And the question is, are they going to be able to keep rising up the leagues or not? I think if we jump forward another 3 seasons and see if they've made it into the Premiership by the time we get to 2029. So the second season in the Championship here started off reasonably well. Got through in the Carabao Cup for me and knocked out by Burnley. Little bit better performances this season, I think. You can see they got through in the FA Cup 3rd, 4th and 5th rounds. Not playing the biggest teams, but they've made it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time and lost to an Isaac Hayden own goal. So he scored for Newcastle, a former Newcastle player there, but playing for the wrong team. Brilliant run of form here in April, winning 5 on the bounce to really help their chances, but I don't think they managed to make the playoffs or the promotion places, and you can see they were still there the season after. Knocked out the Carabao Cup in the 3rd round this time. Poor run of form after a great opening month, and the form didn't really pick up until kind of December, early January. Still going in the FA Cup past Crawley, drew with Wigan, but then beat them in the replay and knocked out by Watford in the 5th round. So no quarterfinals this year. Good end to the season, but again, not making the playoffs or promotion. Again, Carabao Cup, doing well, made it past the 3rd round, I think, for the first time. Then beaten by Man City on penalties. Not the strongest Man City team out there. but still managed to make their way past Spennymoor. Good form across the championship this season. Won in the third round, knocked out in the fourth. They're on for a good playoff promotion push here, so I'm just going to slow down the scroll. You can see they're still winning games, but it looks like they haven't made the playoffs this season either. So they are improving, I think. If we have a look, going back to that first season. So this is where they left off in their first season, where they finished 16th in the championship. The next year they actually finished in 8th place. So they've not missed out by much here, 76 and 76 points off the playoffs. The next year, where are they? They finished in 10th place. Again, 4 points off the playoff, closing that gap in a really tight season. And then the year after that, they're 8th again, 3 points off the playoffs. They are really closing that gap down. If we have a quick look at the team overview, you can see they're only securing their finances now. They've got another new manager in. If we have a quick look at their manager records, you've got managers leaving the managerial role. They're not getting sacked. They do not sack managers, but they're just not quite managing to hold on to them either. And if we just go back here in the first season, after spending 30 million in this first year, they spent 50 million, and then they spent 5 million in the most recent season. So the taps are being turned off a little bit, I assume, because the wage budgets are quite high. If we look at their general info, or rather look at their contract info, you can see in terms of valuation, they've got a few players worth a bit of cash, but they're in on loan. Otherwise, not a huge amount of cash in the club, but their wage bill is enormous. They've got some players here worth 3 million on 50 grand a week, which is a lot of cash going out the door. It's not the biggest championship wage bill, but they do have players like Ryan Tulloch here, who they signed for 2.3 million, and he's just a bit of an average championship player, so he shouldn't be getting the wage that he is. Twazi as well, if we look at him, another championship player, pretty average, has a couple of good seasons, but £5 million he costs. You'd be hoping he'd be doing more than he is. So they're not necessarily being that efficient with their cash. But what we'll do is go 3 years into the future again, given that they've been closing that playoff gap, and see if they can make it into the Premier League. So this next season along, you can see there's an awful lot of defeats already on the screen out of the Carabao Cup in the first round to Barnsley. It's not been a great season by all accounts. They started to pick up towards the end, knocked out the fourth round by Portsmouth in the FA Cup. But the Championship still just ticking along nicely, but they did not make the playoffs that year. The year after that as well, huge run of defeats. They really struggle in these winter months. They start well and finish well, but struggle in the winter months. They were knocked out on penalties in the second round of the Carabao Cup and knocked out the FA Cup in the fourth round. So it's a while since they've had a cup run. Again, really poor form and no playoff finish that year. Norwich knocked them out in the first round. Poor form again. I mean, they're really just flying off the handle here. Beaten by Arsenal, who are kind of their FA Cup nemesis at the minute. But then a good, strong finish to the year, but not quite enough for them to get to where they need to be. If we have a quick look at the table here, over those 3 seasons, they had been closing the gap a little bit. You can see here, they finished 3 points off the playoffs. The next year, though, they finished down in 10th on 69 points. They'd fallen back to 10 points away. The year after that, they finished in 20th. They nearly got relegated. 3 teams on 47 points. It must have gone down to the final day there. And just their goal difference keeping them up, very close to falling out of the Championship. And the year after that, they did manage to pick themselves up to 12th place. But they're kind of falling backwards here, which is not what you would expect of Spennymoor. If we go back and have a quick look at their general overview, they've got Hugo Mallow in charge now, which is interesting. 150,000 stadium as well, still going strong, but their general information, 3-star reputation now, so that's really picked up from where we started, but their finances are just okay. If we have a look at the club details, you can see in the finances here, they're actually in a negative bank balance. So the money they're bringing in from their gate receipts are not doing enough for them. They must be spending money on transfers. Their training and youth facilities have dropped down as well. If we do have a quick look at that transfer history over the last 3 seasons, you can see 4.2 million, but 14 going out, 3 million 23 going out, and 3.6. So they've made big transfer profit, but the money is still disappearing, and I can only imagine it's the wage budget, which is around where it was before. They're just not generating the income from what I can tell. I think what I'll do is I'll quickly make myself the manager of Spennymoor, which might just give us an insight into what's going on with their finances. Hugo Mallow's just been sacked. If we have a quick look at the finances here, you can see it's been in the red for a long time here before bouncing back up, going down in and out. Profit loss. Let's have a quick look at the income here. If we sort it by highest income, they're still getting their 67 million from gate receipts. That's not changed for when they were in non-league, really. They were still pulling in 60 million. Merchandise is up. Players sold is now their third highest income. Corporate facilities, 11 million match day. They're getting 3.5 million of TV revenue. Some solidarity payments as well. But their income's just not that brilliant. You only get 3.5 million from the Championship as well. FA Cup there last season, a bit further down. But they're just not getting enough cash. Really, the 67 million, I can't believe that hasn't gone up. It means that they haven't increased their ticket prices since the days that they were down in non-league. Now, their big expenses, match day expenses, so they're bringing in 60 million in gate receipts, but a third of it goes on match expense. Ground maintenance is a third of it, and tax takes the other third as well. Paying a huge amount of tax. That must be on their profit. 21 million in loan payments. I'm not sure what the loan payments are for. What does it give us a reason for that? Just, repayments. I don't know why they've got loans. Player wages are just 17 million. So their money's going out, but I don't really know why they are spending all this money. The debts and loans. Let's have a look at this. They've got 500 million pounds of net debt. How have they got a bank loan started in 2029? What is that? Where did that come from? That is absolutely outrageous. I wonder if they've had somebody come and take over the club for 450 million pounds, and they're now having to pay that debt off through the finances of the club. That's the only thing that I can think of. If we look at their landmarks and go back, 2029 was when the loan came in, I think. 2026 is where a new chairman came in. Does that correlate, 2026? When did it start? Well, the payable date was 2029. They could have had a debt freeze for 3 years before making the payments, but they've got net debt of 473 million pounds. So any money they were making now being wiped out by 20 million a year on debt interest. That is going to be what really limits their growth. And you can see they were starting to go up in the league table over time, getting close to that playoff position. But since that came in around 2026 here, that's where the arc and the rise just levels off and starts to go down. So we're going to have to monitor that and see what happens, because that's a really big external shock to this experiment. Now, if you are enjoying this experiment, do drop a like on the video. Let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like to see that I haven't shown you. Make sure to subscribe for the next part as well. Next time, we're going to go probably 20 years ahead and see if they do make it into the Premier League. We could well end the experiment on the next part, but we'll wait and see what happens before then. But until next time, see ya.